You are now listening to another episode of the Chanel and Alan Chit Chat Podcast with your hosts, Chanel Marshall and Alan Byrne.
Oh my God! There's a lot of doom and gloom, to put it mildly, Chanel, at the moment. And I'm glad to hear that you said that you were trying to maintain a positive before your computer webcam fucked you in the ass. Before that, I'm glad that you were trying to be more positive, not be more positive, but to remain in a more positive space, because it's important, man. There's a lot of
100%, because it's like, go online and if you get consumed by what's going on, you kind of miss the positive narrative of the fact of that, like, by doing what people are doing, it's gonna bring change.
100%. I was literally just thinking about this morning before.
And I'm looking at it in a sense of like, I get to see that change. So that's the positive outlook that I'm having, that I'm going to be alive to see that change. It's not like the people that have come before us, they just said, all right, yeah, they hope there's going to be change, or there is going to be change at some point, and they haven't got to see it happen.
Yes, that's very good. We're
actually going to see it happen and get to basically reap the benefits of the change.
100%.
That's the positive outlook that I'm having, and I'm like, no matter what else is going on, I have to see it in that sense of like, you know, shit's about to like go down. It's not going to be the same, and that's a good thing. Yeah,
no, I think that's really, really important, because just the last week, just with all the stuff that's going on in the States, but then also Corona, just so much stuff, but particularly obviously situation with George Floyd and all that. It's so easy just to feel like just drowned in kind of a sea of just sadness, I suppose, mid-despair, you know. And I really think that is, as you said, that's not the whole picture. The whole picture is there's a lot. Hopefully, there will be a lot of positivity, a lot of good things come out of the whole thing, you know. I saw. Did you see Barack Obama? He had like a town, digital town square. Everything's fucking digital now. Zoom, basically, where he was meeting up with like different, discussing basically issues with different leaders from across the states. That was very noticeable from my point of view about how positive it was. There was a lot, basically just saying what you were saying there, a lot of really like positive outlook about, not at all taking away from what had happened, but you using it as a touchstone for what's hopefully going to move forward and change.
Yeah, I think it's like, if we look at it in the sense of that, it's sad that how many people have had to lose their lives.
Sure.
For us to have to get to this point. Like, we can't now get to this point and make that all be in vain.
100%, yeah.
Because the cycle's just going to keep on continuing. And every time we've kind of got to a point of where like, yeah, we're protest. And then next week we forget about it. And then we're like, we want change. But you didn't continue the fight.
Yeah.
Like, that was it. So now everyone's continuing the fight and it's not going away. Like, realistically, no one really mentions Corona unless it's like the news chatting shit to make you remember about fucking Corona.
Sure, yeah.
Or maybe like Corona might be relevant again when they try and push the false narrative of, there's a big high spike in Corona, like because everyone's been protesting. Whatever. Like, okay, great guys. But it's kind of like it just kind of got washed out, which is a good thing.
Sure.
Because the same thing with Brexit, it got washed out. Like,
right? Yeah. I totally even forgot Brexit was a thing up until you just said the word Brexit, which is crazy when you think about how a big deal it was a couple of months ago. Like, fucking hell.
Then now it's like they're trying, well, for the UK anyway, they're trying to now wash away the Black Lives Matter movement with fucking Madeleine McCann. Like, fuck off.
Right? Yeah, like, I just saw that like this morning or the other day, whenever it was.
Right? Only now you guys have realised this. Why the fuck are you still even... Why are you still even researching or investigating this freaking child? Like, how many freaking black children have fucking disappeared? What the fuck? Like,
I do agree that if you just looked at the newspaper, right, you would assume that, and again, no, it's tragedy, blah blah blah, all the disclaimers. You know, no one is saying that it's not horrible, but you would assume that only one child has gone missing in the last 10 years. You know what I mean? Like, you'd assume that she, like, if you were an alien that came down, you'd be like, wow, this planet's actually pretty cool, man, because like only one kid has disappeared in the, you know what I mean? It's fucking crazy.
It's like
crazy.
What the fuck?
I mean, how many people are killed every year? How many people go missing every year? How many? This
Exactly.
happens all the time.
Exactly. And we're still just like, and it feels like at this point in time, why you've chose to like bring it back in is like, okay, right, so Black Lives Matter, this is the movement that's going on, like literally it is on every freaking news outlet, like 100%. You name it, it's out, like it's getting as much exposure as it deserves, right?
Yeah, which is great.
And then it's like, oh, hold on, white people, you feel excluded, so let's give you Madeleine McCann. Let's give you some white news. Let's give you some white news, just in case you felt like you didn't matter. Just in case you felt like you didn't matter, let's give you some white news just to make you feel a bit better. Okay?
Because it's thanks, Chanel. Right, and now in some white news.
Right. Is that all white with you? Like, you know? It's like, that's what it feels like. It's like, what?
Yeah.
It's absolutely, it's crazy. Because I'm like, of all times, like, you could have given this to us during freaking Corona when there was fuck all and you'd watched everything on Netflix. You could have given it to us then.
I tell you what, man. You go back a few weeks ago when it was all Corona, I would have loved a Madeleine McCann story.
But, like, I realised how powerful social media is in a good way.
Okay.
Because yesterday I saw a story that the comedian White Yardie put up.
Okay.
And it was about these two white teenagers, a girl and a boy, and there was a black boy who had autism. And they were turning around and saying to him, yeah, you better get down and kiss my shoes, you better kiss my shoes. Basically, like, bullying him and basically trying to make him, like, kiss whatever.
Yeah.
And he posted that video and he tagged them, right?
Oh,
and and tagged the boy done like barber in school or whatever, right? And they literally, he put his profile on private and so did the girl. So obviously people can't comment on that.
Yeah.
So then now, and also put up the young black boy who obviously was the victim. Now everyone had gone to the black boy's page, like his followers had gone up and he was like saying thank you for the support, blah blah. Now when I looked yesterday, right, I was like, let me have a look at this barber in school thing. So I've gone on one of the pictures and I was like, wow, over 11,000 comments, right? Whoa. And I was like, wow, but the followers are only like small. So I was like,
yeah.
This is strange. Let me go and have a look. When I looked, like everyone was basically ripping him to shreds. And I mean, like over 11,000 people who made the comments, and then they weren't stopping. There must have been maybe like 10 posts, maybe. And I went to the first post, and it's like, okay, right, there's like 430 comments. Then next one was like 600. Next one was like 800, and then the last one was like over 11,000.
Yeah. Within
a matter of like hours, the boy and the girl had been arrested.
Wow.
And obviously looking at charges. And that was like the same day that it got posted.
Yeah.
Shit got done. And I was just literally like, this shit is freaking it
is interesting, isn't it?
In a good way.
Yeah.
And then the boy was on another page and posted it. Obviously, and then tagged the boy, and the boy was like, oh, take this down. And they were just like, nah, bitch. Not until justice. And I was just like, and he said he was going to come with an apology video, which he didn't. And he was still trying to reach out to the boy and said, oh, I said sorry, but you annoyed me. That's why I did. Whoa. you apologize, but then you justified your actions. That's not an apology.
Worst, mate. That's the worst. Like, that is not how you do it.
I'm sorry, but you're still a prick. Okay. That doesn't make sense.
I love those. I love the apology. I love the pretend apology followed up by the, but actually, I'm not really sorry. I'm like, almost like, learn about PR, man. I mean, like, learn something. Like, you know, I'm not even saying be sincere. I'm just saying, like, get better at your bullshit, because that's no good. You know what I mean?
That basically shows. I was like, that means you didn't. So what you've done, you don't think is wrong. That's basically what it is. What you've done, you don't think is wrong, because you're still trying to justify what you did. So because if someone gets you angry, it's okay for you to basically degrade them.
Oh, that sounds awful. I haven't seen it now, but that sounds pretty fucking awful.
But literally, it's just like, wow. Like, I'm so glad you got arrested, because you're a fucking shitbag. Like, sure.
I mean, abuse is abuse, man. Abuse is abuse, you know?
I was just like, that is crazy. But it's powerful how social media works, because I guarantee if that wasn't on social media, they wouldn't have got arrested. Well,
see, but that's something that's interesting that you said that, because I kind of, was something I wanted to talk to you about with everything that's going on. It was like, because I sometimes am very pessimistic and very, negative about social media, right? And we've had conversations as well where you would be, sometimes you feel the same way. But it's like, it's a massively powerful tool. Right. So it can be used for ill, that's for sure. It can be used for bad shit, but it can definitely be used for good stuff as well. And I mean, I definitely think with the, with I think maybe, I don't know, there's a lot of different factors going on with the protest movement in the States at the moment. But one thing as well, I think it's just people taking videos and sharing them. And social media is a factor that has changed versus, we'll say, 10 years ago. God, I'm so old. 20 years ago, whatever it is. Like, you know, there really is, like, because I was listening to a thing comparing, let's say, the George Floyd case with previous cases like Rodney King or something like that. And they were saying one thing is it's just how undeniable clear video footage is. So that if you're the type of person who, not even saying that you have bad intent, but if you kind of tend to believe one narrative, we'll say, about, you know, being more pro-police or not, whatever it is, right? That you can, in a world of like grainy footage, in a world where it's all just reports or it's what other people have said, it's easier to insulate yourself and to kind of stay in your, whereas in a world where like real footage is shared widely and it's going to come to your grand's phone, it's going to come to your sister, it's coming through everywhere. That really does have the power to change people's minds, because it's undeniable stuff. Now, I know stuff can be manipulated too, in other cases, not talking about those cases specifically, but like there definitely is a powerful effect of media being everywhere. And honestly, it's something I was a lot more negative about, I would have said previously. Whereas like those two examples, like the one you just gave and the George Floyd one, I mean, there's the long term, it's a very positive thing. But I'm conflicted. I'm kind of conflicted about it though, because I don't want a surveilled society. I don't want cameras on every street corner, and yet they're really good for social change in some ways.
No, but you know, I don't. What I found is if something happens and someone pulls their phone out and they record instead of helping.
Oh, well, that's a problem. Fuck yeah.
That pisses me off. Now, when someone records on their phone, why is it the fact that we're in 2020 and that is clear, crystal clear, you can see, right? Now, if someone has been caught on CCTV, the quality is fucking shit.
It still is, yeah.
I don't understand. This is what I don't get. And I'm like, when you want to have like Crime Watch and all that and whatnot, and you're like, hold on. Why is the quality...
This blurry figure, stick man. Like, you know, it's like, isn't it?
Literally, I'm like, how can someone's phone be much better? Right?
Yeah. It is crazy,
they spent less on their phone than you probably spent on that freaking cameras on the side of a building. I presume
so, yeah.
I would hope so. And yet the quality is absolute garbage. You can't have you seen this person? Do you know this person? Well, maybe if they didn't look like a fucking
smudge,
thumbprint, like but, you know, and you're like, lick your finger, and your mum goes like a freaking that. Like maybe I could tell you, okay, all right. Like the guy who was the white undercover police officer who started off the looting, right? Now he was caught on camera and he had like all masked up, gas mask, everything. And he was carrying an umbrella, and he's one who started smashing off with the windows and whatnot. So he started that off, right? Now,
yeah, I saw that. It's crazy.
Right. It's crazy, and it's also it feeds into where me and my conspiracies. Just saying.
I was watching this stuff this week. I was like, oh man, all my anti-conspiracy stuff is fucked now. It's fucked.
But yeah, just by him, just seeing his eyes, right? His ex-wife could blatantly say, "That's my ex-husband, and that's also my mask, and that's also my fucking gloves." Like, what the fuck is wrong with this idiot? Now, that was
I did think it was silly of him to wear the pink gloves with the fur. You know, that was a bad move, but
but like that was done on a phone, right?
Right.
And the quality for the woman to actually recognize and be like, so you
crazy,
watch freaking Crime Watch, or you watch something that happens on the news, and then they want to show you some grainy motherfucking picture, and you're like, what? Why don't you just stick some freaking mobile phones on the freaking side of buildings?
Just duct tape an iPhone on there. Get you an iPhone 5 down in SEX or CEX, whatever it's called, for 40 quid. Stick it up.
I'm just
it's crazy.
Doesn't make any sense.
And is that? I mean, is that? I suppose one explanation is that it's old technology that needs to be updated or something. But it is odd. It is odd that a civilian, like just a normal Joe, can have a better camera than supposedly what the police or the government have. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy. It's like in the movies, the cameras are always, HD. But then, like as you said, Crime Stoppers just looks like they're filming through a fucking plastic shopping bag. Yeah. I mean, like, just what the fuck? But it's great. But it's funny though, because I, in a way, then I think, like, looking at the positives and negatives of like a surveillance society. So one thing is like, there's cameras, like the UK has more cameras everywhere than anywhere else, I think.
Exactly, they're all fucking shit.
And they're all fucking shit, right? Yeah. So, but like, if they are better cameras, right? Then, I mean, the good thing about it would be the potential would be that you have more documented cases. But then it's like, who gets access to that footage, right? So the thing about civilians recording with their phones is that, like, essentially they obviously sometimes people take phones away and so forth. But again, if you have an incident where if everyone has a camera in their pocket, you can film the thing from multiple different angles, and it's police or whoever it is would have a hard time getting all of that footage. So it's like you control the footage, the public control the footage, which is good. CCTV and all this stuff, that is controlled by police forces, controlled by governments and things like that. And like, in one way, that's great. You can surveil everybody and then you can stop crime. But then there's a thing about like privacy, where do you feel about that in terms of like, being surveilled by the government? Because you don't like, you're anti-big G government. So yeah, what's your feeling on that?
I look at it like this. Now, if you can have a clear enough camera to take a picture of my license plate and tell me that I was in a fucking yellow box,
yes,
but you don't have a clear enough camera to basically catch a robbery or catch a murder or a rape or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, get your shit together. What's more important?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, like, you've got high quality cameras.
Would you want a society then where there are HD, let's say we can get them fucking HD cameras like everywhere, filming everything all the time? Or do you think there's any downside to that? Like, assuming that people can get rid of the crappy Crime Watch, whatever the fuck it is, cameras. Like, do you think there's any negative?
To be quite honest, I think we've kind of already sold our souls in the sense of that
it's kind of too late.
It's like, if you turn around and say like, no, you don't want that or whatever, but then you put your whole life online, so why are you worried? Like, if it's like
cat's out the bag, like.
I feel it kind of makes you, in the sense of like, if you don't have anything to hide, what's the problem?
Yeah.
So like, if you're not going out to do some sort of criminal activity, what does it matter if that camera's up there?
Yeah.
But then on the flip side, you can look at it like this, and if you want to delve into obviously my conspiracies, if they wanted to fucking fit you up, and doctor it and say, actually no, we can actually put a green screen behind that, we can actually dodge that and be like, right now, so we've got clear cut video of you. Say you was in Brixton. Actually in Brixton, but now we're going to say you was actually on freaking London Bridge and you were trying to fucking bomb that shit up. Do you get what I mean? Like,
for sure. And like
it could kind of be like the what is that film?
Minority Report?
With Will Smith. Where he's trying to run away from the government, and he has the
Enemy of the State. Is that one, or is there another? It's some name like that, isn't it? Yeah, Enemy of the State. Alan with the references. Yes, 1998. Yeah.
What's it called? Because I was having issues with my freaking connection. I didn't hear any of that shit.
No worries. Enemy of the State is the name of the Will Smith film.
So it's like with that. Well, it obviously was trying to like fit him up because he witnessed and he had that freaking recording or whatever.
Yeah.
So in that sense, then no, it's not good.
Yeah.
Because you're not safe if they want to get you, basically.
Right.
And obviously with a bad agenda. Yeah.
And that's why I'm sort of torn on it, because like, it's fine if you have a nice government that you like today, right? But like, so number one, do you have that government? Like, some people who are like, don't trust the government would say, we don't have it already. But let's just say, my thing would be, even if you think you have a good government that you can trust today, that doesn't say anything about tomorrow. Because one thing that I think we like, especially people who have only spent a lot of time in like Western liberal, whatever it is, democracies, they don't realize that like the governments change over time. You know what I mean? Like governments start off democratic and then different. Like a good example is Hungary, right? Hungary was on the kind of move towards being increasingly democratic. Now it's basically turned back into a one-party state, right? So you set up all that surveillance stuff when you're all like happy and everything's going well, and then tomorrow, you know, now look, and then you turn into China where you've got a one-party state that's like. So I'm thinking about what we're talking about, protests and stuff like that. In Hong Kong, they got more cameras than anywhere else. They got facial recognition software. They've just brought in a new law that's going to make it illegal to protest. So like all people are going to get banged up now because of that tech combined with that change in government. You know, so it's.
But I think
you know,
when I'm saying like the higher camera quality, I'm not really talking about in the sense of the government. I'm more in the sense talking about like law enforcement, because if someone was to get, someone's to get like murdered and not at the hands of law enforcement, right?
No, I got you.
Just to get murdered in general, right? Then they're the ones who are going to be the ones who are going to be supposedly like solving the crime. So they should have access to higher quality cameras. That's what I think, in the sense of like they should be in places like, if you have a dark alley, why the fuck isn't there like a proper HD camera and some lights, those kind of things. But it's just in the sense of that the money gets put in the wrong places, like with the government, in the sense of that with like parking fines and all those kind of things, it's more like obviously your council, which kind of like it's government, blah blah blah.
And they make money on
they have that high res of freaking cameras to catch your license plate.
It's true, actually.
To make sure that you're like you're
the born identity all of a sudden when it comes to getting you the fucking parking ticket, right? To
make sure that you're freaking well insured and all that kind of stuff. But if there's road rage and shit, you don't fucking catch anything.
Dude,
like nothing tangible. Like it's stupid. But I think the only thing which does concern me is the fact that with, like, for instance, with George Floyd, that like his murder is now gonna forever be out there, like,
right. That's
in
true.
social media. Like,
yeah, that's very true.
That's the only thing that does concern me, is when something bad happens and it's life changing for that family.
This is, yeah, God, they'll never be able to get away from that.
It's always going to be there, and that's the only thing that worries me, is that like at some point his daughter's going to have to see that.
100%, yeah.
And by rights, obviously she knows that, like, obviously that there's a video of her, they say like my daddy changed the world, like that she's going to have to see how he changed it, instead of it just being the fact of that, like, someone can tell her, like, obviously, like, you know, the police did this or whatever, but being told and actually seeing it.
As we said, seeing is very different. It's very different.
Yeah, and that's the only thing it doesn't sit well with me, that it's good that we know, because it's made changes happening and like there's a movement behind it, and we can also know when we're being lied to. And when the police or like government were trying to push that false narrative of that, like, it's a bad thing and whatever, and put a cog in the works. But I just, to think that you're gonna, like, his murder's forever gonna be on the internet. All she has to do is like tap in that hashtag, and no matter how many positive things now that get put up, that's still gonna be there.
Yeah, it's for people. People who have, if there's some footage that becomes a cornerstone or becomes something that people come back to, in this case to do with a movement, but also some stuff that just becomes kind of almost like a meme. I'm not talking about specifically police violence, but other things. It's like if you or someone you know is involved in something, it's just there on the internet forever, you know, and that eternalness is very I mean, that was what I was thinking of in terms of as not as a counterpoint, but just as a secondary thing about, like, for example, you gave the example of the two teenagers who were essentially abusing that poor kid, right? So it's like that's a pretty awful case, but also there's been other cases of like violence or negative behavior by anybody. I'm not saying it could be race, it could be anything, right? That people do when they're kids. Then like that footage is, even if they change, right? Even if they grow, they will always be followed by that in a way that didn't used to happen in the past, right? I'm not making excuses for those specific people. I'm just kind of taking that as, you know what I'm saying, as a start point. And that's the other thing about this, like the eternal online presence of stuff is potentially it can help all this societal growth and change. But some people get trapped in a sort of time capsule whereby their whole lives get defined by a moment they can't escape from. You know, in the case of George Floyd's daughter, she's very much a victim. But also sometimes it could happen in the case of people making mistakes as teenagers, you know, and then they're on World Star Hip Hop or whatever it's called for eternity. You know what I mean? And that's potentially a problem, isn't it? Yeah.
I think that is, and then because kids, in a sense of like, kids don't really get to be kids, because in life you're gonna fuck up. If you don't know better, you can't do better, and you're gonna make mistakes. Now, and that being like literally that's your narrative for the rest of your life. You made that mistake at like freaking 10 years old, and you're freaking 30, and someone's like, you go for a job and someone's like, oh, well,
where do I know you from? Oh, I know. You know,
like, you know, you threw that cat in the river. Do you get what I mean? Like, I'm not
sure.
I'm not saying like, I'm not going to take it to the extreme of obviously like taking someone's life or doing something that extreme, but something could just seem was like, okay, well, the cat scratched you, so you threw it in the river, and someone happened to like catch it on thing, and then now you're known as this animal
cat murderer.
Oh my god, and like you was 10 and the cat scratched you, but no one's taking that up, the fact of that. Oh, okay, yeah, but what really happened, no one cared about that. Everyone just cared about what they actually saw
in that moment.
And now that's going to follow you through, and you can't ever have a pet anymore because, you know, you
the cat shelter bans you.
You know, you threw that cat in the bloody, in the water, you know, like, I get that. That does worry me. But at the same point, it kind of means that parents have to do better. Like, you have to make sure that you are raising a human being.
This is
with,
not
like,
a bad point. Yeah,
without ill intent, without like knowing about like mistakes, all those kind of things, and just making a well-rounded human being. And then you wouldn't have that shit. You know what I mean? Like, I get, obviously that was the example I gave about with the cat and the scratch, whatever. But like, okay, cool. So he was just like, oh, the cat scratched me. All right, cool. And he threw it in the water. Right. Well, instead of throwing the cat in the water, you just might brush it off. You. Do you get what I mean? If you was talk like cats can't swim, mate. So don't throw the cat in the water because you know that cats can't swim. Like, do you get what I mean? Like,
no, I do. I do 100%.
It is silly example, but you know, just not overreacting and like, okay, cool. Like, you being scratched by the cat, you're not going to die. Like, you know, but you throw that cat in the water, the cat may die. So what's your next step? You know, that kind of like, you know, raising kids with responsibility and like for their actions and whatnot.
I think that's actually a really it's a really good point, because I think in the past, you know, people kind of had this attitude, and whereby it's kind of like, and people still say it, and I'm not saying it's entirely wrong or whatever, but you've got to go out into the world and you've got to make your own mistakes, right? Yeah. And I believe that in lots of ways. I think that's good. But there's kind of two sides to that. There's kind of a sort of quite zen, light-hearted side of it, but there's kind of a darker, you know, underbelly to that as well, whereby I, as a parent or as a teacher, or whatever it is, maybe I don't, I'm not as strict with you in terms of, not even strict, I'm not making sure intentionally that I'm putting my moral values into you. I'm not intentionally, because you'll figure it out. And there's a kind of what's it, laziness or laissez-faire kind of attitude there. And I think about my own life, right? I think about, like, and boy, am I ever happy that there weren't fucking camera phones when I was a youngster. I'll tell you that. But like, I think of things that I'm not a serial killer, despite our previous conversation. And even if I was, I'd say I wasn't, wouldn't I? So. But like, I think of things that I've done, ways I've treated other people, we'll say, that now I look back and I'm like, I can't believe I did that. You know, that's I'm sort of horrified by that behavior. And again, it's not massive stuff, but it's enough that I'm like, wow. And maybe that's because maybe I didn't have enough input to tell me that's not how you treat people. I think a big one is like how men treat women, and from, because I'm a man, newsflash, and was just so you know, they were just, it was, you know that new podcast where Chanel talks to that insanely ugly bald woman, you know, that one, it's great. But I had a far more sexist view of women growing, not when I was in my 20s than I do now, I think, you know what I mean? I think I did treat women like they were another thing. You know what I mean? Like, they weren't on the same, not like inferior, but like they're different. They're another category, and you don't approach them the way you would like a man in terms of a conversation, in terms of whatever it is. There's always, you're always running game. You know what I mean? There's always an angle. And like that, as mild as that is in some ways, I was like, where did I get that from? You know, where did I get that notion from? I got it from media. I got it from other people around me. But like, parents I worked out over time that was a very negative for me, not only for the women in my life, but it was negative for me. It limited my value, my life. But now, as you said, more than ever, I think parents have to be clear in terms of the values they're putting into their kids, because you make mistakes out there, it's going to get caught on film potentially, even if it doesn't, but potentially it could, and it's forever. Or you put a tweet up, you know, and then people find that shit.
And I think as well, it's like everything. Like, you need to have conversations, and if you can think back, like when you was younger, like how much in-depth conversations did you have with your parents? Right now,
not many.
Like, now I know that I didn't have in-depth conversations with my dad. Like, not like hi, bye. We have some jokes. Like,
sure,
you know, see him at the weekends, whatever.
Yeah, not a bad relationship. I think that's important. No. And same with me. I love my parents. I've always had a very good relationship with them. So like, just taking that out of the equation, even right? Yeah, it's a good relationship. And but
it's like, it's just the fact that emotions and feelings. Like, my mom would tell me that she loved me every single day. Like, I'd be huggy and that kind of thing. But even though she would do that, for me, it didn't come second nature to me, because the actions were there, but the feelings weren't there for me, if that makes sense. So we'll always got having the conversations. As far as I'm concerned, it's like, my mum loves me because she's my mum. She's supposed to.
Yeah.
Like, not that it's like, this is how you're supposed to love someone. This is how you're supposed to care for someone, nurturing someone, all those kind of things. You don't have those conversations. It's just like, it's second nature. That's what's just supposed to happen. Your mom's supposed to tell you that she loves you. Like, yeah, okay, yeah, fine. But never sat down and been like, okay, right, so you've had this disagreement or something at school with your friends or whatever. Let's sit down. How do you actually feel about this?
Yeah.
What are your feelings about this? Do you actually like that person? Like, do you care if something happens to that person?
Yeah.
You don't have those conversations. Oh, I had an argument with my friend at school. Oh, okay, what was it about? Maybe you might tell her whatever, and then it'll just be like, oh yeah, that person was wrong, or oh, maybe you should apologize. Not about how you felt in that moment or how you feel about that situation.
Right. Yeah.
And we don't have enough conversations about how did that make you feel.
That's
because a lot of people, when they tweet and stuff like that, it's because they feel a certain way, but they don't know how to express it, and no one's taking the time to ask them, how do you feel? And they say, I feel like this because of, and then they go, actually, no, that's not the way. Blah, 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 blah. We don't have those kind of conversations, especially with the influencers that put up about the whole, I think she put up like the whole dark skin, light skin kind of thing. And it's like, no one really talks about colorism in the Black community, apart from the fact of that it happens and you shouldn't be a part of it. But then it's
but that's it at the end.
Right, exactly. And then on the second hand, that you'll be like, oh, you'll hear that person being like, oh, like, oh, Team Lighty, and oh yeah, like Team Dark Skin, but you just turned around and said about colorism and that we shouldn't do it, but then now you're over here doing this, and but no one's actually said, like, how does it make you feel when emotions. you were put up how did it make you feel as a dark skinned woman being put up against someone who is Black but it just has a lighter skin than you? How do you feel about that? Nope, you go and just vent on freaking Twitter and you feel bitter about it, and you're just like, oh yeah, this, and then now that's thrown at you, and it's like, whoa, but no one actually checked in with me and said, like, how do you feel? Like, how do you feel about being like darker than the rest of your, like, your school friends or your siblings or whatever?
Yes,
that's what I think it is. A lot of conversations that are not happening as to why we are in the situation that we're in right now. Like, I think you're 100% right. And the thing about it, it kind of brings it back to the media thing as well, or the online life that, again, kids now born, they don't know anything but onlineness. And again, that, as I think, it's a great point, it really is. It's this idea in this world where that is inescapable. You know, people, you can limit internet time, you can't get a phone till you're whatever age. Yeah. You can do all that, and there's arguments we've had about that. But ultimately, that world is there, that online world is there, and if people put stuff up there, it's there.
forever. So now more than it was always important, but now more than ever, it's important to have those conversations where you lock in with, we're talking about parent kids, but it could also be other family dynamics as well. To really lock in with them and talk to them about their emotions, because if you don't, it can be 10 times worse, because they will put out their feelings into unedited, you know, like a president of the United States would, they just, whatever comes, they put it out, and they don't have the perhaps the whatever the capacity to understand how long lasting that can be and how damaging it can be, not just in the moment, but for them in a long term thing. So parents, and then, like you said, have to step up with that.
Even on, like you're saying, online, but at the same point in time, like you said, with how you felt about females, like in your personal life, like now with this whole, obviously with the police and that, and like we have to have that conversation with Black boys and be like, okay, right, so you need to know that you're going to get stopped by the police, you're going to get racially profiled, like you're not on an even kill with your white friend Adam. Like it's just the case. Like
yes
if you don't have that conversation and break it down, then either your child's going to end up just being totally fearful, or they're going to have the injustice happen to them, and then they're just going to become angry, and then it depends on how are they going to act out. And then they end up rocking that stereotype of an angry Black man, because no one's actually said, like, let's have that conversation. How do you feel? Now I've said to you, you know that you're going to be more than likely you're going to be racially profiled. Okay, cool. How do you feel about what I've just said to you? Not I've just told you, I've had the talk with you, but how do you feel about that? Like, do you feel emotional? Do you want to cry? Do you need me to hold you? Like, these are the kind of things that there's no follow up. There's no feeling follow up, and I think that is the problem. There needs to be feeling follow up, and that goes across all races.
100%.
There has to be feeling follow up and with conversations, and that's not happening, and that's why I think we are in the situations that we're having.
I think you're 100% right, because even if you think of it in terms of the massively complicated societal stuff, but just think about it in terms of feelings, people don't address how they feel when and they don't feel like they have somebody in their life where they can communicate that to, and then there's an outburst of uncontrolled, whatever it could be, sadness, anger, whatever it is, that can happen online, that can happen in real life. You know what I mean? You see people, you know, it's that classic thing as well, where you get into an argument with somebody, and if it's the person, if somebody knows you well, then they clock that. Relationship ones are the kind of classic. They're like, I left the towel on the floor and you're really angry, but I get the feeling like maybe it's not about that. Like maybe that's just the trigger. I think you're 100% right. And what happens in the broader context, but also again is, I think, like which hopefully won't happen, and like I said, I'm quite positive, more positive about this, as you were saying before, is that we have these massive outbursts of you know, expressions of pain, essentially, I would say, for a large point, and then it kind of goes away again. So we have these moments where we have interesting conversations and we really talk about things, and then, you know, as you said, whatever new news story comes along and like pushes it out of the public consciousness to some extent. But at very least, what we can do in our private lives is to make sure that we're communicating with each other better than we've been doing in the past. In terms, and again, it's not like between Black and white or whatever, that's important too, but in our with our own relationships, in our own communities, across our own communities, because that, you know, communication, again, maybe I sound very wishy-washy, but I do think you're right. I think that's really important.
Well, you said that I'm right, so that's the main thing.
I can get away with saying any bullshit as long as I just say, but the main thing is you're right at the end of it. It's sneaky.